Lui and leur in French are two words that mean him, her, and them in a lot of cases. And in fact, in the last video, I went through with you 8 of my favorite everyday French verbs in which this is true. However, this isn't always the case, and there are a lot of cases when lui and leur have to be used differently to how I described in that last video. More specifically, there are verbs which take lui but not leur, and they take lui to mean him but not to mean her. How do we know when to use which one? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to take you through in this video. If you find yourself understanding more about the complicated French grammar, hit that like button and we'll get started. Salut, my name is Alex, and every week I take you through the complicated parts of everyday French so that you can be a more confident French speaker. So why is it in French that we can use lui and leur to mean him, her, and them, and sometimes we can't? Well, short answer is, that's just how it is. You just got to remember the two different kinds. The longer answer is that here we're talking about two different kinds of object pronouns. Some verbs dictate that you put the pronoun after the verb, and some dictate that you put it before the verb. And in this video, we're going to talk specifically about the ones which go after the verb. The pronouns which go after a verb in French are called les pronoms toniques. Les pronoms toniques, or in English we might call them stress pronouns. They're the ones which you see after pour, sans, contre, avec, vers, all these sort of prepositions. So, pour lui, pour moi, pour toi, avec toi, sans toi, contre toi, for example. Now here, you heard me say lui. In this case, if you see pour lui, vers lui, contre lui, it means him. Against him, without him, with him. However, when you want to say with her, when it's a pronom tonique that you're using, the pronom tonique for her is elle, pour elle. So you've got pour lui for him and pour elle for her. That's just the way it is. It's just the rule. And for multiple people where you have at least one male in the group, you have to use pour eux. If it's a group of all females, it's pour elle with the extra S at the end. So as you can see, leur has absolutely no place here as a pronom tonique. It does not exist. If you're finding this confusing, just think about it like lui and lui, the one which goes before the verb and the one which goes after the verb. They're actually just two separate words with one meaning each, rather than one word with two meanings that you've got to remember. For me, that helps me. For you, I don't know, let me know. One French verb that I'm willing to bet you'll need to use every single day, if you don't already, is penser. Penser, to think. Now with penser, if you want to talk about thinking about someone, you can't say je lui pense, je lui pense. That logic doesn't work for penser. It doesn't work. So like with donner, you say je lui donne, I give to him. But in French, I think about him or I think of him. You have to say je pense à lui. Je pense à lui. It's just the way it is. And just like we've already mentioned, if it's for her, it's à elle. Je pense à elle. Or j'ai pensé à elle in the past tense. And for multiple people, it's je pense à eux. Je pense à eux ou je pense à elle. So again, for the stress pronouns, you can use lui for him, but you can't use leur for them. Penser has got to be in my list of 10 most frequently used verbs every single day. And for those of you interested in everyday French, I have a great bonus video with 12 nuggets of everyday French that I didn't learn until I got to France. You can go and find that down in the description below if you're interested. Now onto a verb which follows both possible structures. And by that I mean you can have the pronoun lui, leur before the conjugation or after a pronom tonique like pour. And that is acheter, to buy. Now I mentioned this briefly in the last video, but essentially you can say acheter à quelqu'un, which means to buy for someone. So therefore, because it's à quelqu'un, you then move lui ou leur before the verb when you want to replace that quelqu'un with a pronoun. So je lui achète ou je leur achète. However, for the purposes of this video, you can also use pour to say buy for someone, like in English. J'achète pour Alex un cadeau. J'achète pour Alex un cadeau. And because the preposition is not à here, you have to use a pronom tonique with pour. So pour lui. Pour lui. And then how do we say for her? That's right, well you know already, it's pour elle. Pour elle, because we've already talked about that. So this one can be a little bit confusing, but at the same time, I like how Ashti gives us two options so that even if we forget one rule, we should remember the other one. So we can apply correct logic either way. Now I've mentioned that penser uses the preposition à followed by a pronom tonique, but I think that's kind of more the exception than the rule here. If you can use any of the following prepositions, sans, vers, pour, avec, contre, and par, for example, if you're going to use any of those, they're always followed by a pronom tonique. That is one of the easiest pieces of advice I can give you because that is a stone cold, concrete, absolute certainty of a rule. Pour, avec, vers, contre, etc. don't get replaced by pronouns. They add pronouns to them. So, for example, le livre a été lu par Alex. Here we have the preposition par. We're always going to replace Alex by lui. We're not going to move it anywhere. It's always just going to be par lui, par lui. Unlike, for example, in donner, you remember, again, with donner, is donner à quelqu'un, and we replace the à and the quelqu'un with lui, and then move it to the beginning of the verb. With all of these other prepositions, that doesn't happen. We just add a pronom tonique to the end. Nice and easy. And you can find a full list of pronoms toniques down in the description below. But for the purposes of this video, we're focusing on the third person, lui, elle, or eux and elle. So just to recap on the rules. Usually, if the verb requires the preposition à followed by a person, then when you want to replace that person with a preposition, then you're going to replace the à and the person together with lui, if you're in the third person, or leur, third person plural. And that's going to go before the verb next time with, for example, donner, je leur donne, for example. However, there are plenty of cases where we either need to use à and then a pronom tonique at the end of the sentence, such as je pense à lui, je pense à elle, je pense à eux, or we have a different preposition altogether other than à, like par, sans, contre, vers, avec, and with these it's a 100% rule. 100% of the time we use a pronom tonique after these prepositions. So we might have par Alex, contre Alex, avec Alex. We don't replace the preposition, we only replace the pronoun and it stays put in the sentence. Avec lui, pour lui, sans lui, contre lui, vers lui, etc. So those are the three main points I want you to take away from this video, because in the next video we're going to take all that we've learned from the last 3 weeks on LUI and LEUR and we're going to apply them to a real life yet hypothetical situation that we could encounter in day-to-day life. So to make sure you don't miss out on that one, make sure you're subscribed if you're not already and click on that little bell icon to get notifications. Merci beaucoup d'avoir regardé. À la prochaine. Ciao.